It's another day. You awaken, feeling like the bed has wrapped you in a cocoon of lethargy. The monumental task of lifting your toothbrush to your mouth feels like you attempting to hoist a barbell. Your arms move in slow motion. Each bristle swipe feels like this Herculean effort. You stare at your reflection. Your eyes look dazed, noticing your hair looking thinner than before, wondering how the zombified version of yourself even made it to the bathroom. Life with hypothyroidism is like living without spark plugs. Energy? What's that? If energy were a guest at a party, it would be that one friend who always says they'll come but never actually shows up. You joke to yourself, I need a jump start more than my old car ever did. After a while, this dragging existence starts to feel normal. You look around at people bustling about, brimming with energy, and you wonder where on earth they're getting it from. Is there a secret energy fountain that you've been left out of? Because every task, no matter how small, feels like this insurmountable chore. When you're seated, or worse, even if you're lying down, it feels like a vacuum has sucked every last ounce of vigor from your body. The thought of getting up to fetch a glass of water feels akin to surmounting Mount Everest. Flat battery? No, most likely no battery at all. You shiver, pulling your blanket tighter around you. Even though it's warm outside, the cold seems to seep into your bones. An uninvited guest that refuses to leave. Your skin feels dry, your hair brittle, and your body weak. Muscle aches are a constant companion, making even the simplest movements a challenge. Your mind feels foggy and you struggle to remember simple things. Conversations blur and you find yourself forgetting words mid-sentence. Depression creeps in, a shadow that darkens even the brightest moments, leaving you feeling disconnected from the world. The spark that once lit up your life seems to be fading. Each day feels duller, and life's vibrant colors start to blur in this monotonous gray. Occasionally, after a meal or a dose of caffeine, you might feel a slight bump, a fleeting moment of clarity and energy, only for it to fade away like a whisper in the wind. Then comes the medication, your lifeline. It supplies the hormones your body can no longer produce, a temporary fix that keeps the lights on. You feel slightly better, like you managed to plug a small leak in a sinking ship. It's not a cure, but at least you're not completely submerged. And so you carry on, navigating this energy-sapped experience, finding humor in the little things, and holding on to hope that one day you might discover the secret to living fully charged. But until then, you keep moving, one small, monumental task at a time. So that essentially summarizes my experience with this hypothyroid condition. It's been almost close to 4 years navigating this condition of hypothyroid. And it's not been easy. During the initial years, I used supplements to try and just keep the lights on and help me manage the condition because I was facing quite a huge amount of stress at the time. And because of that, I didn't have enough capacity to be able to dive down the natural solutions rabbit hole, nor did I have the ability to manage it given the high levels of stress. So I just resorted to supplements to just keep the lights on. I didn't want to go with the conventional route because of all the side effects. However, my ultimate goal, because the supplements don't address the underlying root cause, was to get off the supplements and find myself with a totally natural solution to managing this condition. Finally managed to get off these supplements after a huge amount of struggle. It's not one of those easy conditions to deal with. It took a lot of effort, it took a lot of struggle to be able to get to a stage where I could drop off these supplements. Now I do still struggle with some of the symptoms from this condition. You probably noticed in a lot of my speech, I tend to forget my words mid-sentence, and part of that is because of the lingering symptoms from this hypothyroid condition and the memory effects that it has. So this is episode 1 in my Navigating Hypothyroid series. In this episode, I'm going to cover the symptoms that I personally experienced, as well as some of the other symptoms that are synonymous with this condition of hypothyroid. Then in the future episodes, I'll get into my diet, the natural solutions that I've come across along this journey, some of what I think are the causes for this condition of hypothyroid, as well as some of the other learnings. If you're interested in learning more or you have any questions about my experience, please drop it down in the comment section. I'll try to do my best to respond to you. And also, if you have suggestions on things that you would like me to share in future videos, please do drop those in the comment section as well. With that, let's get into episode 1 and talk about these symptoms. So starting off with the symptoms that I've personally experienced with this condition. So there's several symptoms when it comes to hypothyroidism. There's 9 of them that I've personally experienced, and then there's about 8 that are also synonymous with this condition. So I'm going to get right into them. My story up front tried to depict a lot of the symptoms that I've personally experienced, so I'm going to try and be quick with going through these symptoms. So the first one, and one that probably most people are aware of, is the fatigue. You're feeling this, constantly feeling tired, even if you've had a full night's sleep. Even if you take naps during the day, you're still going to end up feeling this persistent sense of fatigue. The second one is this sensitivity or intolerance to cold. You generally feel cold all the time. If you're in an air-conditioned building, you're generally going to want to keep a sweater around because you're going to feel cold all the time with this condition. It generally drops your body temperature. Winter can be atrocious if you're suffering with this condition. Summer times are generally the best, and you generally tend to very much savor those moments in the warm sunlight. The other symptom of this condition that I've also experienced is constipation, and that can be both frequent constipation, occasional constipation. Just be mindful of if you're experiencing a lot of constipation, it can be a symptom of this. Part of this is also because you become very lethargic, so you don't move around as often as a normal person would, so that also tends to result in a lot of constipation. Your diet also may not be correct. The other symptom is dry skin. So if you have a lot of flaky skin, I tend to get a lot of that flaky skin. It's because of this condition of hypothyroid. Hair loss, as well as thinning of your hair, that's another one. If you brush your hair and you find a lot of hair falling, then just be mindful that this is also synonymous with this condition. The other one is muscle weakness. So like I mentioned, lifting up anything is going to be quite a challenge. If you have to do any form of physical activity, it's going to feel arduous. Your muscles are going to feel sore. You're going to feel this general sense of weakness. Joint pain, stiffness in the joints, that's also another symptom of this condition. Very much a symptom when you have to do a bit of physical activity. You're going to notice that the joints generally tend to be more sore, and also because you're not moving around as much, so those joints are going to get very stiff and painful. The other one is depression. So this has quite a significant mental health effect. It can leave you with those feelings of depression, and please be mindful of this, that this is related to this condition and something that can make you feel very miserable. It can potentially even push you to the point of contemplating suicide. So please, if you reach that situation, please do consult someone. Please try and get support, because it is one of those conditions that really sap the energy out of you and leaves you feeling like this. Literally, you feel like a zombie. The other one is that I mentioned is the memory loss issues, and that is something that is also associated with this condition. It's something that I personally experience, still continue to experience, is you're going to notice your memory generally being a little bit fuzzy. At times you're not going to even be able to complete full sentences and you're going to stop halfway. I still struggle with this. It takes time. Just allow yourself that patience if you are going on this healing journey, that all these symptoms may not disappear immediately. It's going to be something that you need to have the patience with. But as long as you're noticing incremental improvements, take the joy in those incremental improvements, because that's going to carry you on this journey. The other one is slow heart rate, as well as lower blood pressure. So I often noticed that when I had this condition, my blood pressure was very low and my temperature also dropped. So those are the two things you can monitor yourself, is get a thermometer, stick it under your armpit and take a body temperature reading, and that will give you an indication of whether you have low body temperature as well as the hypothyroid condition, without having to do the blood test. At least it will give you an indication. Then you can go and do the blood test and get the actual results from your T3 hormones. Let's get into these other symptoms. So these are symptoms that I didn't personally experience but are associated with hypothyroidism. The one is hoarseness. So if you notice a change in your voice starts to sound more hoarse, this can also be related to this condition. The other one is elevated blood cholesterol levels. So you could also have this as part of this condition. If you're a woman, you could be facing menstrual changes. Hopefully something I can say, be thankful that I don't have to deal with, but that's something to be mindful of. The other one is puffy face. Especially if you're noticing the swelling in your face, it could be associated with this condition. Goiter, the enlarged thyroid gland. So if you're noticing that swelling around your thyroid glands, so just be mindful of that. And also, lastly, if you're struggling with weight gain, if you find that you just keeping or holding on to a lot of weight, that can also be associated with this condition. And especially if you're doing things to try and reduce your weight, but you're just struggling overall with your metabolism, then this can be related to your thyroid condition. Remember, the thyroid is almost like the computer in your body, where it regulates a lot of the hormone production and it has a lot of ripple effects. So if that goes off, your metabolism goes off, and it can throw off a whole host of things, and a lot of why we end up feeling like this flat battery scenario. So hopefully this video helped to shed some light into the symptoms. So with that, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.